morning. We're going to have a look at some lightweight backpacking tents this morning. We've got three to look at. We've got the LanShan 1, we've got the Vango Blade 100, and we've got the Wild Country Zephros 1. Pretty good tents, nice and small, nice and lightweight. They've got disadvantages, they've got advantages, so what we're going to do is just get them out of the bag and set them up now. Right, three we're looking at today. We've got the Vango Blade Pro 100. This weighs at about 1.6 kilograms. We've got the Wild Country Zepharos 1. That weighs at 1.4 kilos. And then we've got the LanShan 1, which weighs in at 800 grams. Obviously you can see the size of these, with the Langshan packing up the smallest. Just remember, the Langshan doesn't come with a pole, you're using your hiking pole to erect this one. So let's put these up and let's have a look at the differences with them. So as you can see, for the Vango Blade 100, it's an inner pitch first, which obviously that brings its sort of disadvantages as well. If it's absolutely throwing down with rain, this is not the sort of tent that you want to be pitching, due to the fact you've got to pitch the inner first and then you've got to pitch the outer afterwards. Blade, you've got a nice lightweight single aluminium pole which runs from front to back. So that's the inner pitched. As you can see there, you've got a single aluminium pole that runs from front to back. There's a good space on the inner inside of this. I'm 183 centimeters tall. This is just big enough for me, but we'll put the outer on and we'll have a look at that. So it's got ties in the middle of the tent there. That's just to keep the inner attached to the outer. And down the bottom here, the inner just clips onto the outer there. And then this side is pegged out. And then back and front, this is clipped to the piece of webbing that attaches the main pole. Let's just straighten this out a bit. And then the same at the front, that just gets clipped onto there, and then this just needs straightening out and sorting out. Right, door wise, you've got two doors on this, so these open from the side here, on this side here, and then on that side there, and then you've got one main entrance into the inner just here. So there's a good bit of space in this tent. Like I say, I'm 183 centimeters tall. Plenty of space for me to sleep in this. The great thing about this is there's loads of room either side, so you can get your mat straight down the middle and you've got place for your clothes, you've got space for the dog, there's loads of space here, and then you've got this vestibule here for your bag, your boots, anything wet that you don't want inside of your tent. If you're doing like a 4 or 5 day trek, something like this, and you're carrying sort of a 60-70 litre bag, then a 70 litre bag is tight under here, but you can get it underneath here. So yeah, this is a pretty good tent. I like it because of the space, the length. Only disadvantage that I find with this is that you've got to pitch the inner first. What I have done before is I've kept the inner attached to the outer and just rolled it up and then just pitched it as it was like that. So the next one we're going to look at now is the LanShan 1. This, I believe, is a Chinese copy of a lightweight American tent. I believe it's the Hex Peak. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I've used this one a couple of times now, and I really like this. I mean, it's 800 grams. It's nothing, you know. You really do see the difference in carrying something as light as this and as small as this. You can bring your bag size down. You can bring a lot. You know, your weight comes down a hell of a lot just by using something like this. Does have its advantages, it does have its disadvantages, but we'll put it up and we'll have a look at what these are. There's two ways of pitching the LanShan 1. You can pitch the outer first, or you can pitch the inner first. It really depends, but the one thing that I do find is if weather it permits and you can pitch the inner first, you get a better shape. When you're pitching the outer, it's very difficult to get the shape of the tent symmetrical, but if you pitch the inner first, this helps a hell of a lot. So this is the inner setup. You can use this if you're in the middle of the summer. You've got no guarantee of rain or anything like that. You can use this just as a mosquito shelter. Like I said previously before, this is pitched using your walking pole, so you need a walking pole to pitch this. So once you've got the inner pitched, the next thing is to stick the outer over the top. So you've got on here an orange mark and a grey mark. The orange mark is what's going on to your peg. These can be adjusted later on. Alright, we'll just unzip it. Now I find it easier on this section if you just pin out one of the doors. It makes it easier to erect. Right, so we've got a walking pole now, so all we're going to do is just slot this into that section here, and then there is on the inner, there's a little loop just here, what just the tip of the pole just goes into. So that's the walking pole in, so all I'm now going to do is just attach the front guy line. This comes in quite handy when you tighten up the sides and just making it a bit more symmetrical. It. So this is the LanShan 1. I'll just get in it and you can see what I mean about the size. So there's plenty of space in this tent. It's not great if you're tall like me. There is a little trick that you can do, which I'll do in a second, just to show you how to just create a bit more headroom. The length is here, my feet are at the bottom and my head is just under the fly, so there literally is a couple of centimeters just under the fly. But like I say, I'll show you the trick in a second. Great thing about this, plenty of space in the vestibule here for large bags and all your wet gear and stuff. There's a good bit of space on the side. I can get me and the dog inside here. Really like this tent. So advantages to this is how light it is, the size that it is. It's pretty quick to pitch. You're using your walking pole as your main pole as well. Disadvantages, a little bit of a flaw in the design of this, but we'll go into this a little bit later. It's not a three-season, you could push it as a three-season tent, it will condensate up. You want to give yourself a little bit more headroom. This is the method that I always use. So from this guy line coming outside here, I'm just looping this around a stick here and just pulling it out. That's lifting the tent up slightly there, just to give you a little bit more headroom. Now the issue I mentioned, there's a little bit of water ingress into this tent. These side guy line attachments, when these have been stitched onto the outside, there's not been any waterproofing put in where this stitching is here. So this is a major downfall, because as the water runs down here, it's seeping into this tag and it's just dripping just on the inside of the tent here. So the way that I've got around this is I'll put some seam sealer on the outside. On the underside, I've just used an old bag cover and just used some contact adhesive and just put patches on the inside of this that loop round on the inside there. That has completely stopped the water egress through the tent. So that's the only real downfall with this tent. The fact that when it's been designed, it hasn't had any form of waterproofing put where these webbing pieces are attached onto the tent. Right, the next one that we've got is Wild Country Zepharos one. This is made by Terra Nova. It's based on the Laser one. The Laser one weighs in a lot less than what this is, but this does look a little bit hard wearing. So we're going to pitch this one now and see how we get on with this one. Just to show you the end poles, inside the tent, inside the front and the back, you've got this little piece of red webbing here. You've got this little black grommet on the tip of your pole. That needs to slide up there. If you push this up here, you've got a chance of ripping the tent. So that just goes in there, and then making sure you don't get that caught up, you've just got that little grommet at the end that goes into. So that's the outer setup of the Zepharos one, so I'm just going to stick the inner into it now. Right, just having a look down here. So what you've got guy line coming off this section here, which is where your ventilation is. So in between there you've got the pole that's connected from that red bit that we shoe earlier on into the grommet on the webbing. Now just on the inside here, when you first pitch this, you've got this elasticated loop which looks like it's for a peg, but it's not. Okay, so when you're pitching the end of this tent, you're pitching it using this loop and a peg. Okay, this piece of elastic, this is to keep the inner at the back. So before I pitch this, I'm just going to reach through here. There's a little hook. It's got caught in a peg. There's a little hook just here that the elastic goes into, and then you're pitching the end piece of your tent off this this guy line here. So this is going in full length from here, and then you're adjusting this section to bring this tight by pulling this little tightener there. Alright, opening up the tent. you've got no way of rolling this up. So all you've got is on the inner, there's a little clip just on the side. Opening the inner, right, so here we are, Zepharos 1. So I quite like this tent. I've got loads of space down at the feet, down there. Other people sleep the other way around, but I prefer it this way. There's more space at this end for my feet. You've got plenty of space here for your bag. There's loads and loads of room on the inside of this. So this is my pretty much go-to tent for outdoors. If you're in an environment where you think it's going to throw down with rain. Great advantage about this is pitching the outer first. That's the main thing with this. It is a bit fiddly to get used to if you haven't pitched it before. It does take a bit of time to get to know how to set the thing up. You can use this without the inner. You can buy a ground sheet for this, which is pretty good, but the only disadvantage to that is if you're in an area that is full of midges and mosquitoes, you're going to want an inner just to keep yourself safe from those little vampire things. So, so let's have a look at all three. So the Vango Blade 100, 1.5 kilos, quite a small tent to pack up. It's a good bit of length on there. I can still sit up inside that tent, so there's a good bit of headroom inside of there. There's a nice space inside of it for a single person. You've got the porch just at the front there for your bag and stuff. Disadvantages to this. The issue, you've got to pitch the inner first, okay? The second disadvantage to this is the porch isn't massive if you've got a massive bag, but in general this is a pretty good tent. The adaptation that I've done with this is keep the inner pitched inside of the outer. Obviously if it's condensated up inside, you've got to get the tent dry first before you pack that away. So that's the Vango Blade 100. So the second tent we looked at is the Langshan 1. This is my go-to tent for lightweight hiking. 800 grams. Very tight, very small to pack up with. Brilliant little tent. Disadvantages to this, like I said before, you've got the places where the webbing has been stitched onto it. These are not 100% waterproof. This can be fixed by the method that I showed earlier on, so that is seam sealer and just a little bit of patch on the inside of this. Another disadvantage to this, if you're like me, I'm 183 like I said, this is quite small for my size. You do have to increase your headroom or just get used to the inner just above your head. So brilliant little tent. Final tent we had a look at is Wild Country Zephros 1. This is pretty much, if I'm going on something that's long distance and I'm out and I don't know what the weather's going to turn to, I'll turn to this. This is the one. This is like this is the beast of all beasts for me, at an affordable price. Remember, today we're looking at affordable pricing tents. So easy to pitch. Outer goes up first, inner just clips inside of it. You've just got one single door on this. You've got enough space to get your bag and all your wet gear inside of that as well. So looking at the prices of these tents, so like I said, we're looking at affordable tents, affordable hiking tents. So going at the price, so this ranges from about £95 delivered. The Blade Pro is about £90, and the Langshan 1 delivered from China is about £52. So the Langshan is the cheapest one out of all of it, and it is my go-to tent for sort of spring and summer hiking when the weather is definitely not going to hit it hard. Heading out to Sweden next June, I know for a fact that there's got to be a lot of snow on the trail for about 1.5 days, so this is going to be the tent that I'm going to take out with me. The other option you've got, if you want something that's really lightweight and easy to pitch, doesn't take up much space, is a tarp. So this is a DD Superlight. This weighs 460 grams, okay? So out of all of it, this would be the lightest to use. Obviously there's many methods, and if you have a look on the blog, if you look on, I think I've done a video as well on a tarp tent pitch of this, but there's many different ways to pitch these things. These can be pitched between trees using a ridge line. You use your walking pole as the main pole into it. Obviously the difference is with this is you're not going to have an inner inside of it if you're in an area where you're going to be hassled by mosquitoes and things like that. So as a shelter, as a minimalistic shelter, this would be the one to go for. Right, I hope that's been helpful anyway. So there we go, we've had a look at 3 affordable lightweight hiking tents. It's each in their own really, you know, what works for me might not work for you, so you know, just have a look what's out there. There's so much out on YouTube, reviews on blogs and websites and stuff on how people get on with them. I think one of the first things that I can say, which is quite important to do, is RTFM. That's quite a good little acronym really, meaning read the fucking manual. Have a look at how they set it up before you set anything up first, because most accidents and breakages happen when people are setting tents and bits of equipment up for the first time. So do read the manual, have a look at it and see how you set your tent up. So just a little summary on that. 3 tents there, Langshan 1, the Vango Blade 100 and the Wild Country Zephros 1. Each got their good points, each got their bad points. Like I mentioned previously, for me, summer hiking, Langshan 1 definitely. You know, it's waterproof once you've done the adaptations and mods onto it, and it's lightweight, and it does everything. You can get me and the dog into it. It's a perfect little tent. Anything with a bit of, you know, a bit of arduous weather and stuff like that, then Zephros 1 definitely. Vango Blade works quite well, you know, but the difference is you've got to pitch the inner first. That's the only difference. And if you're in it, if it's absolutely throwing it down, that's the last thing you want to be doing, is pitching the inner first. So I hope that's you know, helpful for you. So just have a look at some of the other videos that I've put together. There's one on tarp tents, which is quite handy. That's a really lightweight method of creating yourself a shelter. But yeah, thanks for watching.